Alright guys, welcome back. So we're going to continue this series. First thing we're going to do today is build out our entire organization. So let's say we're planning out a data infrastructure and we need to build a whole domain and set it up properly. So in this video, first thing we're going to do is actually build out our domain, set up our first DC, get everything started with Server 2025. And without further ado, let's get started. So I'm on my cluster home labs with my servers running for Proxmox. And what I want to do, since we're using Proxmox, you got to actually bring in the 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 VMs first. So I'm going to go ahead and find my ISOs right there. So I need to upload first ISOs that I want to bring in is Server 2025, and then I'm going to go ahead and upload this to my first box. So let this run and we'll be right back. Alright, as you can see, the import was successful. You always want to see this once you do your uploads. So now we can go ahead and build out our first VM. And like I said before, we're going to keep these in the structure. And so everything that's built on the R710 will start off with 100. So we're going to go ahead and create a VM right here. 100 is on the R, this first blade. We're going to call this lab DC01. That's going to be my first domain controller. And we're going to click next. The ISO is going to be the one I just imported. And then we're going to change this to Microsoft Windows. And then we're going to click next. So we're going to keep this on the local storage and then also on the local. That should be good to go. Q35 for the machine is fine. And click next. Since it's a domain controller, it doesn't have to be that huge, so 60 gigs should work. Click next. I'm gonna give it 2 CPU to power up. Click next. I'm gonna go with probably, I think 4 gigs, but I might just do 8 gigs right now. In fact, I'll just leave it at 4 because as a domain controller, you don't really need that much to work with. But in actuality, I probably could give it 6 gigs. So let's do some calculation real quick. 6 times 1024. What do we get? 6144. So let's go with 6144. 6 gigs of data, 6 gigs of RAM. And that should be good to go. Network card is fine. And then everything looks good to go here. And then we're going to go ahead and click finish. Now we did the import. The VM is actually building itself out, so we're going to wait for it to actually show up, and it looks good. Click on it, you'll see the summary, the status, and it seems like it's okay. Now when we go to console, we can wait for it, and then at this point we just want to go ahead and click start. Now if everything goes well, you shouldn't have any issues. We should boot up. Pressing the key, and we're going to load our first Windows Server 2025 machine. And I can bring this up a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and double click our console, and let's expand this so we can work on it. So we're going to select the language, click next, keyboard accept, agree, click next, wait for the settings. We're going to go with the desktop experience. This means that it has the GUI interface. If you went with the evaluation without it, then it's just a core bare metal, so that means the GUI is taken away. For now, we're just going to select this. In the next videos come, we will work on the core portions. Click next. Accept the license agreements and terms. I don't know if anyone ever really sit here and read this. I think this is how Microsoft gets us. Click accept. We're just accepting something we probably don't even read. It's terrible. Scan for the this is a 60 that I made, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a partition and click apply. Wait for the machine to actually partition it itself. I've had issues before when I did this partition. It showed up some errors, so this shows good. We had two partitions, the MSR reserve and the system, and then now we can go ahead and click next. Seems like everything is good to go, and we're going to go ahead and click install. And now we're just going to wait for the server to install, so let's pause here and we'll be right back. Alright, so we're just checking back in. So the computer is restarting a little bit. As you can see, it finished installing the Windows piece, and now it's just going to go through and push all the updates. So let this run and we'll be right back. Alright, so the computer is almost finished. As you can see, we're at the ending stage, 94%. So we should be here shortly. Almost there, almost there. And here we are. So now we will go ahead and set our admin password. Oops, did not click in there. Okay, click finish. It's going to finalize the settings. One good thing I like about 2025 is the fact that it's pretty fast as far as the install process. It doesn't ask you for a lot of like stuff, you know, like look, see, you put it in and we're ready to rock steady. All right, now let's go ahead and do a Control-Alt-Delete right there. And now we're going to log in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do once we are fully logged in, we are going to prep this machine and get it ready to be our domain controller. Now, since it's the first domain controller that's going to be built, that means that it will be the box to actually hold a majority of your FSMA roles. We'll talk about that another time. But also, it's going to be the one that builds out your forest, right? So it's the first DC that comes alive, so your forest will be built right now. And then every time you bring another domain controller on, you can add it to the forest because it's already established, or the domain is already created. But this is how we will create our first domain. I'm just waiting for this to start up real quick. And I might just go ahead and push this over to full screen so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, so now we are back and we're about to start up. So first thing we want to do is our prep. Okay, so we'll close this out. And what I like to do is let's go to PowerShell, start up. And we're just going to go ahead and go into what's called sconfig, so server config, and we're going to use this to actually configure our first domain controller. Instead of clicking through a lot of stuff, we want to change the name to make sure the name is accurate, add IP address, and so forth. So we're going to type in sconfig, start off, hit enter. and this is going to go ahead and bring up a menu for us to choose from that we can use to configure the server environment and get it working. Oh no, what happened? It's the term doesn't exist. Why? Maybe I need to update. Let's see. Let's see why that would be. That is actually weird. I never seen that before on the environment. I'm gonna also try to bring up terminal. It could also be because it's loading as well. Sometimes it takes a little bit. So let's try again. Let's see if we get the same arrow. Sconfig doesn't exist, really. That's new. I don't know why. I've done this before multiple times. Doesn't sound right. Seems right to me. Okay, so now it's loading over here. So I'm guessing, but I was in PowerShell here too. It probably was loading, right? So it probably just didn't load properly, and I was just jumping the gun because I was like wondering what happened. Okay, so here's our sconfig or server config screen. So as you can see, there's a list of stuff in this command that you can do. The first thing we want to do is give this an IP address, and go ahead and hit 8, and we want to set it so it's already picking up an IP, but we don't want to use this IP on this network. Okay, so I want to go ahead and hit 1, and we're going to go ahead and set the adapter, and we're going to do static, and then we are going to stay into the 70 range and higher. Okay, so static IP, we're going to do, so we're going to start off this box, and it's going to be 70, and I need to start making notes so that we can make sure that we're keeping track of all the IPs we're using. So libdc01 is going to be .70. We're going to start there, and then we're just going to hit OK, and then it's going to be 255.255. It's fine, and then default gateway, which is fine. That's going to be the gateway. All of those are set. Hit enter to continue, and we are good to go. So now we need to go back in though, and we need to also set the DNS servers. So the DNS for this will be itself. So 192.168.1.70, which is going to be this box, and then the alternate will be the gateway. And press enter to continue. And so on the outside of this box, I have majority running on a 192 address. So what we're going to do, just to make it fun, let's go ahead and change the IP. We're going to use a different subnet so that we can build out later and have an RAS play the game to get out. So what we're going to do, instead of getting these to play, let's go ahead and change that. Okay, so let's go ahead and change that, and let's go with a 172 address. So we need to sit on the private network. As a matter of fact, we'll just keep it the way it is, just for simplicity. So let's go ahead and just do I think we're good to go here. So not exit, sorry. Let's bring this back up, and we're just gonna go ahead and hit enter, go back out. So we have our network settings set. Let's go ahead now and change the computer name. So we're going to hit 2 right here, and we're going to change it from the default name, and we're going to call this the lab DC01. That's the computer name, and now it's telling us it's going to check config. So do you want to restart? We're going to say yes. We're going to restart and let it restart, and we will be right back. Okay, so it restarted. Now let's log in. And from here, now we can play and keep going. So we changed the IP address, which is .70. And now we need to build out the rest of the system. So once server manager populates, we're going to go into add features, right? And from here, we're just going to add a few things to start off to get this up and running. So add roles and features, like I was saying right here. It's still running, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. Okay, so we probably should be, nope, not ready yet. Let's try again. Nope. Alright. Alright, let's see if it's ready. There you are. We are good to go. So now we're going to go ahead and click next here. And then click next to add. We have lab DC01. And then the IP address that is set for this box. So now we're good to go. So we are going to add Active Directory domain services, which is right here. That's the first thing we're going to add. Add all the default features. Then we're going to click DNS. You want to add your DNS with it as well. And these are the only two things that we need to add right now. And then click next. From here, nothing else is really needed. We're going to go ahead and click next. Click next again, accept all the default, restart the server if it's required. You click yes, and then we are going to go ahead and install. Alright, so this is going to run and install itself. And once this is complete, we can go ahead and perform the post task to set up. So we can go ahead and close this, right? And once this is ready, you will see that we'll get a yellow message on the notifications right here that is ready. So you can watch this. And then we'll be right back once it's ready. Perfecto. So installation succeeded right here under the task. So if you do a refresh up top, now you have 2 right there. So now it's refreshing. And basically what we're going to do next is a post installation. So once you install all the roles and features, now you have to promote this domain controller to become the first domain controller to actually activate your domain and create your farce. So as you can see on the left right here, ADDS was loaded, and this is what I was talking about now. The post configuration is ready, so we're going to promote this server to a domain controller. So congratulations, Mr. Server, you are getting promoted. So this is where I was talking about. If it is the first domain controller, so it's a domain controller in the existing domain, we don't have that. This is a domain in an existing forest, a new domain in the existing forest. We don't have that because then that would be a child domain. So we're creating a whole new forest. And our domain name is going to be homelabs.io. Or we can just do let's do LabMaster. That's going to be our. So we can use LabMaster or we can just do Home Labs. I think I want to go with Home Labs this time because it's shorter. So we'll just do homelabs.com. This domain is probably owned by someone. Doesn't matter. We're not really doing anything on the real world. So we're not violating anything. So we're just going to do homelabs.com. And we can actually probably do .net, like .net. Homelabs.net. Click next. And from here it's going to check to see if it actually exists. If it doesn't exist, right now we'll tell you we need to put in a DSRM password. So we're going to go ahead and put in a secure password. And now we're going to click next. Now right here it's going to check for the DNS options. By delegation we're going to create a new zone, so we need to click change and apply the administrator password right there. So it'll take, this is the LabDC administrator. That's the credentials we're going to use. Click next. And now our NetBIOS is going to appear. Basically, it's just a short version of your domain. It allows you to use that instead of using the fully qualified domain. It uses a short version. So there we go. Home Labs is available, and we are good to go. And we're going to click next. Accept the defaults here and click next. Now, by default, on the enterprise level, you don't want to put everything on the C drive. You may have to put, if I go back right here, if you're working on enterprise, some places will have you put the database separate, the logs file separate. So when it's time for you to troubleshoot, you can go different places and pull these reports. For this exercise, though, we're just going to keep it as a default. Everything looks good right here, right? And we are going to click next. Now, here you can view the script, which is a useful tool. If you ever want to run this again, this is actually a useful tool that you can just go ahead and save as. And you can save it as to like your desktop and just call it. And now you have a script that you can actually change later and run it to actually do this whole operation all together. One of the cool features of this whole Microsoft deployment operations. All right, click next to install, and this is going to run for a little bit, do its thing. It's going to install Active Directory and get everything promoted. So the prereqs are good, and now it's time to install, and we'll be right back when this is complete. All right, so our server has been successfully, there you go, Home Labs has been created. Our domain is up and running. So let's go ahead and try to log in. And here we go, our server is up and our first domain is on its way. Alright, we're back, so we can double check now to see that our Active Directory and our domain is up and running. If you go to tools, you should see Active Directory users and computers. You should also see DNS. And when you click on these, it should take you into your newly formed forest right here, and your domain structure is built out for you. So that's basically the steps to implement and install a new forest from start to finish. This does not include customizing or anything. It's just doing the install, and we're gonna go step by step and do other stuff here shortly in other videos to come. But this is basically the easiest way you can do it. You can also do this in PowerShell as well, but this is just a step by step. All right, and you can also open up your DNS and look at that. That was also installed successfully. And your DNS is up and running, as we see. There you go. And you can take a look to see your host records were created right there for your 70, and your LabDC was created as well. And that is your name server for your LabDC HomeNet right there. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is just a basic overview of how to install your Forest and create your first domain inside your aligning with Active Directory. Until next time, see you later.